Episode 1, Trailer for Yellowstone. Dutton Ranch fades from your mind. It leaves behind a very specific feeling, certainty mixed with unease. Certainty that this story knows exactly what it wants to be, and unease because you can already sense the pain that's coming. The trailer doesn't rely on shock value or nostalgia to pull us in. Instead, it confidently sets the foundation for a story that is slower, deeper, and far more emotional than anything we've seen before. It feels like the opening chapter of a long, difficult journey, rather than a flashy return to familiar chaos. What makes this trailer so good is how honest it feels. It doesn't pretend that Beth and Rip are starting fresh without consequences. Their history is written all over them, and Episode 1 looks ready to explore how that history shapes every choice they make. The trailer suggests that peace, for them, is not a destination, it's a constant battle. Every day on this ranch is a decision to keep going, to keep believing that something better is possible, even when the odds are stacked against them. That emotional honesty is what gives this series its weight. The sense of suspense in the trailer doesn't come from immediate danger, but from anticipation. You're left wondering who will challenge them first, what line will be crossed, and how far Beth and Rip are willing to go this time. The trailer makes it clear that while they may be trying to live differently, they haven't lost their edge. If anything, they're more dangerous now because they're fighting for something pure. And when people like Beth Dutton fight for something they love, there are no half measures. Episode 1 feels like it's setting up a story about survival in its rawest form. Not survival through dominance, but survival through restraint, sacrifice, and painful growth. The trailer quietly promises that every relationship will be tested, every sense of loyalty questioned, and every attempt at peace challenged. It's not asking whether be. What really elevates this Episode 1 trailer is how clearly it separates Dutton Ranch from the original Yellowstone without losing its soul. This is not a story driven by constant political pressure, government threats, or billion-dollar land grabs. Instead, the tension feels more personal, more grounded, and honestly, more unpredictable. The trailer shows us that Beth and Rip are no longer reacting to chaos. They're trying to prevent it. And that shift alone changes everything. You can sense that they've chosen this quieter life on purpose, not because it's easier, but because it's the only way forward after everything they've endured. Yet the trailer makes one thing painfully obvious. Quiet does not mean safe. There's an underlying discomfort in every frame. Even when Beth and Rip are together, even when the ranch looks peaceful, the atmosphere feels heavy. It's the kind of tension that doesn't explode right away, but slowly tightens its grip. The trailer leans heavily into this feeling, using long pauses, meaningful looks, and restrained dialogue to let the suspense breathe. And that's what makes it so effective. It trusts the audience. It doesn't over-explain. It lets us connect the dots ourselves, which is exactly what made Yellowstone work in the first place. But here, the stakes feel different. They're not fighting to win anymore. They're fighting not to lose what little peace they've managed to build. Beth's evolution stands out the most in this section of the trailer. She's still intense, still fearless, but there's a sense of control that wasn't always there before. In Yellowstone, Beth was often a weapon unleashed. Here, she feels like a calculated force, someone who knows that one wrong move could destroy everything. That makes her even more compelling to watch. Rip mirrors this shift perfectly. He's quieter, more observant, almost protective in a way that feels deeper than before. This isn't just loyalty anymore, it's purpose. The trailer strongly suggests. The Episode 1 trailer opens with a feeling we are not used to associating with this universe: silence. Not the tense, gun-loaded silence of Yellowstone, but the kind that comes after a storm, when everything has already been lost and what remains is the weight of survival. Beth and Rip are no longer fighting for the Yellowstone Ranch. That war is over. What we see here is the aftermath, and it's heavy. The trailer immediately sets the tone by showing us a version of Beth and Rip that feels older, worn down, but still unbreakable. There's peace on the surface, but underneath it, you can sense that peace was earned with blood, sacrifice, and scars that will never fully heal. The ranch looks vast, quiet, and almost isolated, which perfectly mirrors where these characters are emotionally. They're not surrounded by enemies at every corner anymore, but they're also not safe. They're rebuilding, and rebuilding is sometimes harder than fighting. What makes this trailer so effective is how little it actually gives away while still telling us everything we need to know. Beth's presence alone dominates the screen. She doesn't need explosive dialogue or chaotic confrontations to remind us who she is. A single look, a pause, a controlled breath. It all tells us that this Beth has changed. She's still sharp, still dangerous, but now there's restraint. Rip, on the other hand, feels like the emotional anchor of the trailer. There's a quiet strength in him that suggests he's done running from his past. This is a man who finally has something real to protect, and that makes him more dangerous than ever. Together, they don't feel like warriors anymore. They feel like guardians. The trailer also makes it clear that the ranch itself is no longer just a setting. It's a symbol. This isn't the Yellowstone Ranch with its political power and legacy. This place represents a second chance. And second chances always come with a price. You can feel that something is looming, something inevitable. As the Episode 1 trailer continues to unfold in your mind, one thing becomes impossible to ignore: the sense that this story is moving toward an inevitable collision. Not a sudden crash, but a slow, unstoppable convergence of choices, emotions, and consequences. The trailer quietly reinforces the idea that Beth and Rip didn't escape their past. They simply relocated with it. Every step they take on this new ranch feels like it's being watched, judged, and quietly challenged. The land may be different, but the rules of survival haven't changed, and the trailer makes sure we understand that from the very beginning. There's a noticeable shift in how conflict is framed here. Instead of loud confrontations and explosive threats, the danger feels psychological. The trailer suggests that Episode 1 will focus heavily on tension built through restraint, things left unsaid, lines not yet crossed, and trust that hasn't been earned. Beth, in particular, seems painfully aware that one wrong move could put everything at risk. That awareness adds a layer of suspense to even the smallest moments. When she speaks, it feels measured. When she stays silent, it feels intentional. This is a woman who has learned that power doesn't always come from destruction, but from knowing exactly when to strike. Rip's role in this looming collision is just as compelling. The trailer paints him as someone trying to hold the line between protection and control. He wants to keep his family safe, but he also knows that overprotection can be just as dangerous as neglect. That internal struggle is quietly powerful, and it hints that Episode 1 won't just challenge him physically, but emotionally. The weight of leadership is clearly settling on his shoulders, and unlike before, he doesn't have John Dutton guiding his decisions. That absence is felt deeply throughout the trailer, almost like a ghost hovering over every choice they make. The environment itself feels like a character in this section of the T. One of the most intriguing aspects of the Episode 1 trailer is how strongly it leans into the idea of legacy, but in a completely different way than Yellowstone ever did. This time, legacy isn't about land ownership or family names carved into history. It's about what Beth and Rip leave behind as people. The trailer subtly frames this entire story around Carter. Even when he's not front and center, every decision Beth and Rip make feels influenced by him, by the future they want to protect, and by the mistakes they refuse to repeat. That emotional weight hangs over the trailer and gives it a quiet intensity that stays with you long after it ends. Carter's presence introduces a vulnerability we haven't really seen before. Beth and Rip have always been fearless when it comes to themselves, but the trailer suggests they are far more cautious when it comes to him. That alone creates tension. Protecting land is one thing. Protecting a young man who is still figuring out who he is something else entirely. The trailer hints that Carter is standing at a crossroads, drawn to the world outside the ranch, while still tied to the values Beth and Rip are trying to instill in him. That struggle feels incredibly real, and it sets the stage for emotional conflict that could be even more devastating than physical threats. The trailer also does a brilliant job teasing new characters without overshadowing the core story. You can sense that the people surrounding the ranch aren't just background noise. They feel layered, calculated, and potentially dangerous in ways that aren't immediately obvious. There's a strong implication that not everyone sees Beth and Rip as survivors looking for peace. Some see them as invaders. Others see them as competition, and some may see them as an opportunity. This kind of moral gray area is where the Yellowstone universe thrives, and the trailer makes it clear that Dutton Ranch is fully embracing that complexity. Emotionally, the trailer feels heavy. If there's one final impression the Episode 1 trailer leaves behind, it's that Yellowstone, Dutton Ranch, is fully aware of the emotional contract it's making with the audience. This isn't a casual watch. It's not background noise. The trailer quietly demands attention, because it's clearly setting up a story where every moment matters. Episode 1 feels like it will ask viewers to sit with discomfort, to question loyalty, and to accept that growth often comes with loss. And that alone separates this series from almost everything else on television right now. There's a strong sense that consequences will finally take center stage in a way we haven't fully seen before. In Yellowstone, actions often led to immediate fallout. Here, the trailer suggests something more haunting: slow consequences that build over time. Decisions made in episode the 1st of May not explode right away, but they will linger, resurface, and eventually demand payment. That kind of storytelling sticks with you because it feels real. Life rarely punishes you instantly. It waits, and Dutton Ranch seems ready to explore that truth. Emotionally, the trailer positions Beth and Rip at the most human point we've ever seen them. They're not invincible. They're not untouchable. They're trying, and that effort alone creates vulnerability. You can feel that episode 1 will be about setting emotional boundaries just as much as physical ones. Who do they trust? How much of themselves are they willing to expose? And how far will they go when those boundaries are tested? The trailer doesn't answer these questions. It lets them hang, heavy and unresolved. What makes all of this so compelling is that the trailer never once feels manipulative. It doesn't beg for excitement. It earns it. It understands that the audience isn't just invested in plot twists, but in emotional truth. And the truth being presented here is simple but powerful. Peace is fragile, and protecting it can be just as brutal as war. Episode 1 looks ready to. What truly seals the impact of this Episode 1 trailer is the confidence behind it. This doesn't feel like a show trying to prove it deserves to exist. It feels like a show that already knows its value. The trailer carries a quiet assurance that Dutton Ranch understands its audience and trusts them to stay for the long haul. There's no rush to explain everything, no desperation to recreate old Yellowstone moments. Instead, Episode 1 is clearly positioned as a reset, not in story, but in mindset. This is a series that wants you to slow down, pay attention, and emotionally invest. The trailer strongly suggests that Episode 1 will focus on foundation building rather than fireworks. Relationships, boundaries, and unspoken rules are being established, and that's where the real tension lies. You can almost feel the fragile balance Beth and Rip are trying to maintain. One wrong decision could undo everything they've worked for, and the trailer makes it clear that those decisions are coming sooner rather than later. This kind of suspense is far more effective than constant action because it keeps you mentally engaged. You're not waiting for something to happen, you're waiting to see who breaks first. Another powerful takeaway from the trailer is how much emotional restraint it shows. Beth Dutton, a character known for explosive moments, is portrayed here with a quieter intensity that feels even more intimidating. When someone like Beth chooses control over chaos, you know it's because the stakes are higher than ever. Rip, too, feels more layered. He's not just reacting to Beth or responding to threats. He's thinking ahead, weighing consequences, and trying to lead without becoming the very thing he spent his life running from. That internal conflict adds depth and makes Episode 1 feel rich with possibility. The trailer also subtly reinforces the idea that this new ranch isn't a refuge, it's a proving ground. It will test their relationship, their parenting, and their belly. At its core, the Episode 1 trailer feels like a promise, one that Dutton Ranch will respect the history of Yellowstone while refusing to be trapped by it. The trailer suggests that this series understands something crucial. Audiences have grown with these characters. We're no longer just interested in who wins or who loses. We want to know what it cost them to keep going. Episode 1 looks ready to answer that in a way that feels raw, thoughtful, and deeply personal. It's not about reclaiming power anymore. It's about redefining strength. There's a quiet maturity in how the trailer presents its story. It doesn't lean on nostalgia or fan service. Instead, it leans on emotion, atmosphere, and character growth. Beth and Rip aren't being glorified as untouchable legends. They're being shown as people trying to live with the weight of everything they've survived. That honesty is what makes the trailer so gripping. It respects the audience enough to let silence speak and tension breathe, trusting that we'll feel what's coming even if we can't yet see it. The suspense in this trailer is subtle but relentless. It comes from knowing that peace in this world never lasts forever. The trailer quietly reminds us that the Dutton name still carries consequences, no matter where they go. Episode 1 feels like it will be the calm before a very different kind of storm, one driven by emotion, relationships, and slow-burning conflict rather than outright violence. That shift doesn't weaken the story, it strengthens it. What stands out most is how confident the trailer feels in its identity. Dutton Ranch isn't trying to outdo Yellowstone. It's trying to outgrow it. It's choosing depth over spectacle, meaning over noise, and character over chaos. And if Episode 1 truly delivers on what this trailer promises, then we're looking at a series that could redefine what a Yellowstone sequel is supposed to be. By the end, the trailer doesn't just make you excited, it makes you reflective. The most striking thing about the Episode 1 trailer is how it balances hope and tension in equal measure. Unlike the relentless chaos of Yellowstone, this trailer suggests a more nuanced, slower-burning drama, one where stakes are emotional as much as they are physical. The ranch is no longer under immediate siege, but the trailer makes it clear that safety is fragile, fleeting, and never guaranteed. Every glance, every gesture from Beth and Rip carries weight because it's clear they know what's at risk. Episode 1 feels like it's not just opening a new chapter, it's setting the foundation for a story where every choice has a ripple effect that could define their future. One of the most compelling aspects teased in this trailer is the layered storytelling. The show seems ready to explore consequences that don't hit instantly but linger, shaping relationships and character decisions over time. We've seen Beth and Rip face challenges before, but Episode 1 looks like it will emphasize the quiet tension of responsibility, of keeping family and land safe when threats are subtle, unpredictable, and often internal. That kind of tension is far more intimate and suspenseful